Some may say that Barry can be gruff, but as long as you mind your manners.
The majority would.
As long as you say please and thank you.
Yep.
There's not a better bartender in the city than my man Barry.
Just let Jimmy introduce you to Barry.
That's
let
true.
Him know that he's on that you're in the you're kind of in that
circle
of the yacht father, and you'll go a long way with Barry the bartender.
Are these jerseys you're all wearing? Is this because Zion's taking a rest here? We have a bit of an issue.
We're
like
in
the wording
solidarity.
there, taking a rest.
Yes, taking a rest. It's all that's going on. It's solidarity with one of our brothers, not one of our fallen brothers. I did not say that, so do not put those words in my mouth, Hunt. He is okay. The Pelicans' luck has turned around, and we will get good news later today.
Speaking of
the secret,
you kind of have the same kind of outlook on sports as Hannah Griff does.
Yeah, sure.
You love baseball.
Yeah.
You're loyal to LSU. Tough to get you to kind of pay attention to what's going on outside of that bubble.
Right.
Will Zion make you pay attention to the Pelicans?
No. I mean, I'll probably go to a game or two.
Such a bleep hole, man.
I just don't care. I can't fake it. I care
Do you
so
just not
much.
like the NBA or
I don't
the
really like the
Pelicans?
NBA.
Okay.
I like 4 teams. I like LSU football, LSU basketball, LSU baseball, and the Cubs. I'm addicted to all of
Charlie
them.
Hannagriff sitting in
I
studio
can't,
with us
I
here
can't,
off
and
the
that's
bench.
really all I got. I can't fake it. I hope they win.
I like it,
It's like
I
I
like
hope the Saints win. That's great. I'm not going to watch though. I fell asleep at the game last week.
Do you think that LSU covers the 17
Yes.
tomorrow?
Oh, my
Me too,
God.
man. Like everybody's like, this is a trap game.
It's just
It's a stinky line in
Burrow's
Vegas.
trap proof, and I tweeted this out.
100%.
Ribs, I apologize, but I
No, I
tweeted
don't
this out
think
last
anyone's
night.
calling it a trap game, though.
I
by
tried
definition,
to,
it
I
is a
tried
trap
to
game.
come up with a reason why Mississippi State would keep this close. I tried for like an hour and a half last
well,
night.
did you see Schrader when he flew in the air that one time?
He looked like a helicopter. It was so cool.
It was pretty tight.
We'll see that for a
He's
long
going to
time.
run around. They don't run it well. Their line's not good. They don't really throw it all that well. They can't throw the ball, so they try to run it. That runs right into the teeth of LSU's defense. It's played pretty well against the run for a couple of weeks.
Oh, they've been great. They're a top 10 team nationally against the run.
And then LSU's just a juggernaut on offense, and they're going to score 50. They're going to score 50 points.
They roll out of bed and score 50.
So I just don't see it.
What was the most impressive part about last Saturday's win?
Most impressive part about last Saturday's win, there's a bunch of stats to it, but I think the most impressive thing to me was running it for 9 yards a carry. I mean, because when's the running game going to kick in? And Hester's been on it all year, and I've been late to the party, but Clyde's just a great fit for this this offense.
Yes.
He wouldn't be great with 2 tight ends and a fullback and trying to run the toss dive and some counters and stuff like Fournette and Geis and Hill did, but you get him in some space, you create a numbers advantage in the box, and you let him kind of pick and choose a hole. He's so quick laterally. His vision is good. You know, he gets run like, the first big run. He gets caught from behind. Like Geis and Fournette are gonna score on that play, and that's where Clyde's not quite those guys. But he did get the corner in the second half and turn it up, and he made the big play and scored. So I just think getting the running game going against a solid front. They were missing 2 guys, but getting the running game going against those guys was impressive to me.
And therein lies probably one of the great ironies of the Les Miles era is that Fournette, Geis, those guys you mentioned, they would have been spectacular in an offense like this.
Yeah.
If you would
Hill.
have given those guys space, they would have been even more dominant than they were, which is absolutely Saints of me. But yes, Clyde, me and Brody have talked about it. I mean, I think like Joe Burrow, maybe like Chase and Jefferson, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire for who means the most to this offense. He's been absolutely spectacular all year long.
I'll give you another thing that was so impressive, and it kind of piggybacks off the same thing. And T-Bob, you'll probably check this out a lot deeper than I did. But the LSU offensive line,
Beautiful.
last week, was just dominated. They just absolutely dominated the game. No sacks, 9 yards a carry, 10 yards a play. Florida just couldn't do anything at the line of scrimmage. LSU just dominated it.
How concerning is the defense?
I think it's getting better. It's getting healthier for sure. I watched Lawrence play, and I think he's still a little hobbled. I mean, he's not necessarily a hugely explosive player anyway, but he's just not moving great, and I think that'll get better, over the next few weeks, especially after the bye. But they're getting a little healthier. Chason draws a hold, gets a sack. The secondary, they're starting to figure out who needs to be out there. I think the corners are playing well. I thought Trask was just incredible last week. I did not expect him to do that at all. He's fitting the ball in there on slants. The 2 back shoulders to open the second half against Stingley.
Yeah.
I mean, those coverages aren't bad. They're just getting beat by better throws. So I think for what this offense is, the defense is is encouraging to me because they don't have to hold people to 9 points like the 11 Alabama team did. They got to hold teams to 20 points, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, I thought Trask's performance last week was another recruiting pitch for Dan Mullen to talk about his quarterback whispering abilities to bring a guy who hadn't started since 8th grade into Tiger Stadium and give 300 yards of passing to that
Can I
defense.
get you on your soapbox about why Emory Jones continues to come in again?
Just whiskey and wine. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that he would take.
I thought he was going to do that.
game.
I thought he was going to do that, and he did.
It is at that point. It's like sometimes with rotations like that, it's like always hitting on 16 or always staying on 16. Right? You have a game plan going in, and no matter what the context, you're trying to honor that game plan. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes you look like you got entirely too cute. And when you look at the drive when Jones came in, it kind of arrested the Florida's momentum. I mean, even my own mother, who she watched a ton of football,
dialed in,
but she doesn't care that much. Right. Even she was like, "What is he doing? I cannot believe that he put this other kid in."
It's the best coaching example of overthinking that you can find. I mean, what are you? He's chopping this defense up, man. So LSU tomorrow against Joe Moorhead. This Joe Brady-Moorhead relationship, Brody Miller's got a great write-up in The Athletic about the GAs at Penn State in 2015 and kind of Brady sticking out with Moorhead. What do you think the future is for Joe Brady as he's kind of taken college football by storm?
He's going to have a few extra bucks in his pocket at the end of this season, whether it's in Baton Rouge or somewhere else, because this is the most obvious example of a coaching impact in the country. Yeah. I mean, it's just not even close. Everybody's paying attention. The buzz is crazy, and it's not like, with Manziel, when they came in and revolutionized the offense, that was the first time anybody had seen him play. We watched Joe Burrow last year, and yeah, anybody can be better from year one to year two, but this is not even close. I mean, he was a 57% guy last year who was careful with the ball, and they hit some plays, but it wasn't a prolific passing offense by any stretch. They're going right down the field in 2.5 minutes every time they get the ball. It's unbelievable.
Last year, 42 points in 48 plays.
Last year's scheme was
10 yards of play.
4 third downs.
That was the best stat ever. I saw that. I stumbled across that. I mean, because in the post game, y'all have a day to digest the whole thing, but whiskey and wine, you've got the same type deal. But I got 30 minutes to kind of put it all together, so I'm ripping through stat sheets, going through my notes, doing the whole deal, and then I look up and I go, third downs, 2 of 4?
Yeah.
How many first downs did they have?
T-Bob said
they had 30 first and 10s.
T-Bob said it on Tuesday, and the more I thought about it, the further I got away from the comment, the more I agreed with it. It's the best offensive performance in that stadium.
Yeah, it might be the best offensive performance in LSU history, at least in the games that I've watched.
I've never seen best offensive performance that I've seen for sure.
Combined with the context of the opponent, it's the most hyper-efficient, gaudy stat line I've ever seen. 12 yards per attempt, 9 yards per rush, 10.6 yards per play, 42 points, 48 plays. Everything we talked about all week long.
The third down stat, they played on 22 first downs.
And this is against a Florida team that, we thought was a top 5 defense in the entire country?
Yeah. No, that's absolutely reasonable to think. I mean, you saw them against Auburn. They were flying all over the place.
Yeah.
And they just had no chance last week.
Feckless. They looked completely feckless. They could not touch Joe Burrow. Look, last year's scheme, you mentioned how much the coaching has helped Hunt. And I think you've seen such a drastic turnaround because last year's scheme wasn't just okay. I think last year's scheme was actively putting guys in bad positions. We were yelling about this time and time again, the max protections, not getting guys out on routes. It was killing the O-line. It was killing Burrow. And so now you're getting a look at the true talent level of these cats, and then you combine that with a scheme that I think isn't just okay. This time it's a polar opposite where it's actually boosting their ability. It's putting them in position to succeed. And I mean, the world, the sky's the limit right now. This offense just continues to improve.
The best example that I have, and I don't even know much about football, especially X's and O's, but when they get inside the 10 or around the 10-yard line and they run that run pass option deal where Burrow puts it in Clyde's stomach and Chase runs that slant.
Yeah. Jamar Chase touchdown.
And he just looks at the linebacker and says, all right, what are you going to do, boss? And he's got to do something, and they either slip it right behind him to Chase or they hand it off to Clyde and he bounces it up
Clyde's
and scores.
long run, if you go back and watch it on TV, Burrow at the line of scrimmage looks at the linebacker then kind of looks back at Chase, kind of like he's backing up, and then calls the play to Clyde.
Yeah.
And he's running into the open by himself. Yeah, it's unstoppable. And then when he's throwing at the rate he is from an accuracy standpoint, the Jamar Chase first touchdown on the RPO is on his face mask.
Well, I
Chase,
told
it almost he would have to try to drop it.
Yeah, I asked Brandon Taylor, I said, Alabama runs all these slants and LSU's winning all these slants. How do you cover it? And he goes, you tackle him for 7 yards.
Yeah.
Like that's how you stop a slant. Because you can't. If you try to cheat inside like that, they'll bounce it out and you'll never stop them.
They find something in Marcel Brooks.
I hope so. It's like we talk about in the preseason. What are they going to do with him? It took a while with the two guys I always talk about are Russell Shepard and Jacoby Stevens. It took a while to kind of figure out what they were going to do. People don't give enough credit to what Russell Shepard was on that 11 team. He scored a bunch of touchdowns. He was a nice option. He wasn't the best player in the country like a lot of people thought he was, but he was a playmaker for them.
It does. Sorry,
Yeah, you're good.
I was just going to say on Brooks, it does kind of reinforce how important and valuable sacks are. When you look at this kid, he made one play, right? Well, he made a couple, to be honest. But like a couple plays. And there were 3 different bios written of him this week. I mean, The Athletic had it. The Advocate had it. And we've talked about him probably 5 or 6 different times on this show. So we mentioned the stage of last week and how that could really put your name out there. And for Brooks, that was his coming out party. Now he just has to see, can he make that consistent?
The last thing that I'll let y'all get to break, but this defense needs to make 5 or 6 plays a game.
Yeah.
Give me one pick,
Saints
3
2009.
sacks.
That's what I always think about.
Saints 2009.
Give me 5 or 6 plays that shut down a drive or get you short field, and the offense will take the rest of it.
Opportunistic, man. You remember that Saints 2009 defense? Teams ran all over the place in between the 20s. They moved the ball all over the place in the 20s. Inside the red area, they would create turnovers, get stops, force field goals. That's all you had to do on this team.
And now the one element that they don't have that 09 team had, that 09 team just scored defensive touchdowns at a stupid rate.
Yeah.
Although the person doing the scoring is, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But this LSU team, to your point, Jordy, has been dominant at goal line defense.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about Texas.
Shelvin.
You think about Florida
Stud.
last week.
Yeah.
They have
And then you get another guy in Ika.
Yeah.
He played a lot last week.
when they get closer, they get better. So they're already heading down that bend but don't break sort of pathway. And yeah, man, it's like I said, this is a legitimate championship contender.
2:30 kickoff, which means 12:30 tomorrow. Your pregame takes to the air with Hunt Palmer and Fave Wright, Brandon Taylor, and the crew there on the LSU Sports Radio Network here in the listening area on Eagle 98.1, and immediately after the game for the post-game show over there on the network. However you listen to LSU Sports and Football, you can catch these guys before and after the game each Saturday, and you can catch them here on Off the Bench each